Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
Powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. This is the Morning Sports Desk. I'm CJ Baumgartner. That's Corey Tackman. Corey, before we get into anything in this show, you had just an instant classic last night.
Well, yeah, and I'm taking the reins on this one. We are going to dive right into it. I saw a 5-setter last night in volleyball, CJ. Henning beat Parkers Prairie in 5. And you know what? I'm just going to run through the scores here a little bit to tell you how close of a match this really was. Parkers Prairie won the first set 25-17. And basically, they jumped out to like an 8-point lead. They were just kind of dominant right from the very beginning. And then, you know, if this makes sense, once you get to that margin, it was kind of even from that point, right? It wasn't 8-0, but it was like they just got to this 8-point margin, whatever it was. And then whenever they got to that margin, it was even the rest of the way. And then Parkers Prairie won set number 2, 26-24. I had one of the worst calls of my entire life. I thought the match was over. It was 24-19. And there was a set to the outside to Alyssa Revering, and a net violation was called on the Panthers. So what I thought was a 25-19 final ended up making it 24-20. Henning was able to fight back to tie it up at 24 apiece. And then Parkers Prairie rattled off the next 2 points to get that victory. But that was, in my estimation, like a really big turning point in that match. And you'll see why in just a little bit, because it felt like Henning had enough to, you could feel it, like the energy was with them. If they lose 25-19, it's probably over. But they're like, you know what? We can hang with a very good Parkers Prairie team and make this thing interesting. And they did hang. Henning won set number 3, 25-16. They won set 4, 25-17. And then I saw, CJ, an all-time 5th set with the Henning Hornets winning it 24-22 in that 5th and final set.
Insane.
They were tied at 5. They were tied at 10. They were tied at 15. They were tied at 20. I mean, it was an absolute madness. I had somebody ask me, it's my go-to joke on this now for the end of time. I had somebody ask me if I'd ever seen a 24-22 5th set. And I was like, I haven't seen 24-22 in a regular set of play yet this year, let alone to see it in a 5th set. Are you kidding me? 24-22 in that 5th set. Henning pulls out the victory. Each team had multiple match point opportunities. Henning was able to finally figure it out with a kill from Olivia Emter to end it. And they take then the 5-set victory. In the match, Henning was led by Maisha Antoni's 18 kills. And you're just going to hear some ridiculous numbers, right? When you go to 5 sets. And then Mondo extra points in this one. Antoni 18. Olivia Emter and Addison Bodie each had 15 kills. So double digits for 3 players. And then, you know, a handful of kills elsewhere. Parkers Prairie was led by Alyssa Revering's game-high 24 kills. She was just dynamite all night long. Kendall Strand finished with 13 kills. So just, like I said, some ridiculous numbers in this one. I've never seen a match like this. Overall, the match was clearly competitive, CJ. Obviously, it went to 5 sets. It's not like it was front to finish the best volleyball I've ever seen. I think that's a fair assessment, but it was good volleyball. Like outside of the first, maybe like 18 total points scored in the match. You're right. 18 points total between 2 teams. Outside of that, where it just felt like Henning needed to ramp up and energize into it. Outside of that, this was competitive and close, and Henning played excellently, clearly. They're right now the 7 seed in that 6A tournament. To beat the 2 seed Parkers Prairie like that. Parkers Prairie wasn't always their sharpest in this one, but when you get to a 24-22 5th set, like You're talking about everybody firing on all cylinders at all time. This what might be impossible. There were 7, 8 service aces from Henning, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 service aces from Parkers Prairie in this match. 16 total service aces. Only one of them happened in extra points of that 5th set.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, serve receives were just Johnny on the spot and exactly where they needed to be. Defenses were scrambling and picking balls up off the ground and just keeping points alive in a way that you have to when you only have you're always at most 2 points away from losing. It was just an awesome, electric, dynamite matchup between two teams who very much expect to be in the thick of things in a very good Section 6A with those tournaments starting next week. 24-22. I will probably never see anything like that ever again.
You know, it's funny you mention extra points with Henning too, because I remember the first year I was calling volleyball matches in the area. Henning was in a playoff game, believe it was like section semifinal or subsection championship, same thing, in Fergus Falls. And it was between Henning and Breckenridge, and it wasn't the final set, but I believe it was like maybe set number 2. Those two teams played, and it was like 33-31 or something along those lines, where it was like 28-30, or they were scoring they were just going back and forth, and it's just really fun, the energy, because as soon as a team gets that first point, it's like, okay, the other team's on their heels, the other team feels like they have the momentum, and okay, now we're tied again. All right, we got to do this over again. Now the other team gets the momentum. How do you respond? And yeah, I mean, just it's always a fun energy in that Henning gym, and especially when you have a game go like that, two teams that are close to each other, section rivals with Parkers Prairie and Henning. I mean, that atmosphere had to have been fun.
It was the coolest and like super friendly and chill. As a matter of fact, I heard one Parkers Prairie fan at the end of the match say to one Henning fan, say that was the best student section I've seen all season. Like complimented Henning student section. It was, sometimes they get a little chippy down there. Those boys at the volleyball match, they get a little chippy, they get a little petty, they get a little personal sometimes. And so even to see that, like the sportsmanship was through the roof. On top of it, to see really good teams. Fans were out. I think fans expected to see a really nice matchup, and holy buckets did they ever. It was so cool. 24-22 in a 5th set. Like I said, I'll never see anything like that ever again.
That's a huge win, by the way, for the Hornets. And I think we could kind of talk about the implications of that, Corey, because Henning not only gets another win and they improved to 16-9 overall on the season, but now they're 6-3 in Section 6A play. They have a QRF coming into this one, coming into yesterday's game of 79.4. And that number, I don't know how much it can shoot up at this point of the year, but they beat a team with a QRF of 109 in Parkers Prairie. So that's certainly, I don't know if it can jump Clinton Graceville Beardsley, who has an 83.4. I don't quite know, obviously, how things work in the games that they play and things like that. But certainly, whether it affects the standings or not, Corey, if you're Coach Christy Fink and company, you have to feel like you can take on anybody in the section come tournament time, and that's the exact spot you want to be in.
Well, that's absolutely right. And yeah, as far as the section stuff goes, is it enough to move past over who's just in front of them? You said it was CGB. It's enough to keep them in front of whoever's right behind them, because it was close. There was just a one spot
behind them by 1.4 QRF.
Yeah, and that will change today whenever the new QRF numbers are run. But also, and this is important, Henning plays a conference matchup tonight against Pillager. Pillager's a 2A school. So Pillager's, they've struggled a little bit this year, but that 2A stuff matters towards those final calculations as well. So is there going to be enough for Henning to really jump up and move? It'll probably only be a spot if they end up moving up a spot. But on the other side of things, the loss for Parkers Prairie is they're in no threat. They're going to be the 2 seed come section tournament time. That's not really going to hurt them in any way, shape, or form, because the fact of the matter is they lost a 5-setter in extra points to the the 5 or 6 or 7 seed in their section. Right. So it's not going to be that impactful for them. And I think there's a big enough gap. It means they're not going to catch BBE in front of them, but it's a pretty wide margin between 2 and 3.
Exactly. And, it's just fascinating to see all this stuff come together. And Parkers Prairie is going to be a good team come tournament time. And sometimes, whether it's a win or whether it's a loss, I know we've talked with volleyball coaches in the past who always say you got to play good teams to kind of know where you need to tighten up at, the things you need to work on. And I think, for lack of a better term, Corey, that was a playoff-like atmosphere with those two teams, with the quality of opponents. And it's a good, even though Parkers Prairie didn't win that game, it's just a good ramp-up of like, hey, this is the level. If we want to make a run in the section tournament, like these are the kind of games we're going to have to be in. And now we know what it's like to be in one. So that way it doesn't catch us by surprise come playoff time. So we're expecting deep runs from Henning and Parkers Prairie in this loaded section 6A. We talk about a wide open 5A is, and 6A is some great teams, but among those great teams are Parkers Prairie and Henning.
Yeah, no, they're really nice. They're really nice, both of those teams. So Parkers Prairie and Henning, we got our eye on you.
We're watching you. That's where you got to pull up a magnifying glass and like
always watching. What is that from Monsters Inc?
Monsters Inc, yeah. yeah. Always watching, Wazowski.
Yeah. By the way, I got a pair of sunglasses. This is how old I am now. I've got prescription sunglasses, life-changing to have prescription sunglasses, because I would have to decide sometimes, like, am I going to wear contacts so I can wear sunglasses, or am I just going to have to wear a hat and deal with the squintiness of life? And I got some prescription sunglasses, and I sent a picture, just a stupid selfie that I took of myself, to my siblings, and my brother responded in like 5 seconds. I don't know how he responded so quickly with a picture of, what's her name? Roz?
Yeah, from Monsters Inc.
Yeah, because apparently those glasses look just like hers, and it was the most offensive thing he ever sent to me. And I wanted to punch him through Snapchat.
The worst part is Corey knew it was funny, so that's why
it was super funny.
It bothered him the most that not that he got embarrassed, but that he said something funny.
Just God dang it!
I have nothing to retort. That's all.
Right. I hate you.
It's like, that's how you know you've won, when the person who has a chance to fire back can't. There's not. How do you respond to that?
Nope. Touche. Excellent work. I hate you for it.
Hey, speaking of teams in Section 6A, New York Mills also in that section. New York Mills also in the Park Region Conference in the final night of PRC play. They're going to host Wadena-Deer Creek tonight, getting a little bit of look at the tail of the tape between these two teams in the PRC standings. Right now, New York Mills at the bottom of the PRC at 0-6. Wadena-Deer Creek at the top at 6-0. Wadena-Deer Creek with the victory, Corey, would clinch another outright conference title. They already clinched a share of the conference title, but with a win or a Henning loss tonight, they will have their outright conference title. Now, Wadena-Deer Creek, of course, controls their own destiny. If they win, it'll be their fourth straight PRC title in 22, 23, 24, and now 25. Henning was the last team to not win the Park Region Conference. That wasn't Wadena-Deer Creek in 2021. For Wadena-Deer Creek coming into this game, they're 13-9. They're 4-3 in Section 8 AA, 6-0 in the Park Region Conference. They're 6-2 on the road, 3-6 in neutral site games, and 4-1 on their home floor. This is the final regular season match of the season for New York Mills, and for Wadena-Deer Creek, I should say. The Wolverines are coming off of a 3-set victory against Verndale on last Thursday night. And in fact, they're on a 4-game winning streak, getting wins over Bertha Hewitt, Barnesville, Henning, and Verndale. Their last loss came to the defending state champion Holly Nuggets back on September 23rd. So we are halfway through the month of October, Corey, almost, and the Wolverines haven't lost a match yet. They haven't even lost a set yet over the last few weeks. So it's been a team that's kind of finding their stride late in the season, trying to see what they can do, and we'll see what happens. And I know that Peyton Gravel has been a big part of that offense, having 50 kills over her last 3 games. I was talking with Coach Thunberg last week for Wolverines Weekly, which you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Was talking about it and said, like, what's the thing about her? She's obviously a great player, always has been, but like now you're starting to see the kills rack up. Like, what's that been? And she said, well, this is the first year she's had a setter that wasn't her sister. So there was just an obvious kind of grace period. You needed to get into rhythm, get going, and seeing, I know you know this, Corey, when Peyton Gravel's going right, she likes to really be in that front row, kind of in the middle, and then slide over to that right side of the front row on the set. And she did a lot of that against Ferndale, really kind of getting into her rhythm in their last game that they played. So you can just kind of tell that she's getting into rhythm. And obviously they have Kennedy Ness, and they have Jada Dykoff and Celia Rinio, and they have a few different girls that all can kind of make their contributions. But obviously you need to get Peyton Gravel going if you want to have any kind of success coming up through the end of the year into the playoffs.
Can I tell you one of my favorite plays in volleyball is that right side slide where the attacker goes then up the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know. I don't know how you stop a slide other than like triple blocking. Because and so often just the way your body is set up, the way you're jumping, it's going to go diagonal, but every once in a while you can hit that sideline spot. It is the most surprising and like, I don't know, it's like a full run too. So there's a little extra power. I don't know. I love it. I love the slide and then the attack up the sideline. So anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is, Peyton, do that for me next time.
Do it for, in the Outsiders, it's like, do it for Johnny. And then here on the Morning Sports Desk, do it for Corey.
Yeah. Hit one, win one for the Gipper. In this case,
win one for the Tackman.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, thanks in advance, Peyton. It's very kind of you.
New York Mills coming into this matchup, they are 4-18, 3-7 in Section 6A play. Again, looking for that first PRC win of the season. 2-7 on the road, 2-5 in neutral site games, 0-6 on their home floor. Looking at things for New York Mills, obviously in a rebuilding season, they're a younger team. They're trying to find their rhythm. And again, also trying to find their rhythm in first-year head coach Harley Wurst, who is just, trying to get through the first season and see what they got going and build for the future and do all the stuff that you kind of have to do in your first year. It's a learning process. For New York Mills, their last win came on September 22nd against Norman County East Ulen Hitterdal, and they've played some tough teams and section opponents and tough teams in the conference, and they had a tournament in Barnesville that saw a lot of AA competition, and then so they're looking for to get back into the win column here. They will not play in a tournament over the weekend, so this will be their final match of the season until playoffs start next Wednesday, Corey. But pigtail games as well on Monday. Taking a look in the entirety of Section 6A, and this is where you got to have the counting skills.
Say that word again.
In entirety.
Entirety.
Like a cast iron skillet. It's ready to roll.
Don't be doing that like you're Larry King.
Yeah, don't be getting on me about entirety. Don't be like Corey Tagman, who was making a big deal about it for 5 minutes,
Reminds me of that airline.
Kind of
Entirety Air. All right.
Looking at the Section 6A standings here, I got to do some counting here, because the nice part about subsection was Corey, that you could the math was easier to count. Now I got to spend a lot more time counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19th right now. New York Mills is sitting in that section. They could potentially jump Rothsay. Obviously, with the win, they would be able to do that, but they're locked in that spot. They got the win over Norman County East Ulen Hitterdal, who is behind them, so they're not really going to change in those standings. So New York Mills kind of slotted in at that spot in the postseason. So they'll avoid, and kind of looking at the brackets, not quite sure what the pigtail matchups look like and things like that, but that's kind of where New York Mills is allotted for Wadena-Deer Creek. When you take a look at the Section 8 AA standings in their entirety in this one, Wadena-Deer Creek right now is sitting at 5th in the section, 6th rather, in the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 in the section.
You'll get it.
I got it. Hold on. Counting's hard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5th in the section. There we go.
You got so caught up on entirety, you flustered yourself.
I flustered myself. Look at me. I got to use the fingers and toes method. 13-9 overall for Wadena-Deer Creek on the season. 4-3 in section play. They have a QRF of 98.1, which ranks them 43 in all of Class AA. And Perham is the team ahead of them with a 101.8 QRF. And since Perham is the tiebreaker over Wadena-Deer Creek, unlikely that they're going to move. So it kind of feels like, and they have a tournament in Moorhead coming up, do the Wolverines over the weekend, where they're going to be playing a lot of teams. But talking again with Coach Thunberg of Wadena-Deer Creek, she said there's also going to be a decent amount of Fargo teams and North Dakota teams that are going to be in that tournament. So she's like, it's going to be good. We're going to be playing some high-level competition. But she's like, I have no idea how that's going to factor into QRF and like all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
The team in North Dakota and things like that. So assume Wadena-Deer Creek is going to be locked into that 5th spot when the section tournament rolls around. So that's
Holly, DGF, Perham,
Wadena-Deer Creek.
Roseau, Perham, Wadena-Deer Creek?
Yes.
Okay.
Then Frazee, East Grand, Thief River Falls, Barnesville, Monaga, Park Rapids area, Warroad, Crookston, Red Lake.
As an aside, remember we were wondering last week about some of the QRF, like why some teams were ranked higher than the other in spite of the QRF numbers being different. Turns out just a bug in the system. I don't know if we ever talked about that officially.
Not on the show, no.
So there was just like all the ratings were correct, but for whatever reason, they were placed seating wise incorrectly. So that was sorted itself out. And because a week ago or whenever we talked about it last, it actually had Frazee in front of Wadena-Deer Creek, despite the QRF difference. The placing was wrong, even though the ratings were correct. So anyway, we got that right. I reached out to Minnesota Scores. They responded immediately. They're like, yep, we're getting it fixed. It's just a weird thing that happened.
They're like, hey, calm down, nerd. We're working on it.
Yeah, I was surprised because I sent, when I sent the email, I was like, I can't believe that this is actually happening. Like, how many people are actually looking at these numbers like this? And they go, no, actually, that's awesome. Thank you for reaching out, because sometimes that's how it gets caught, when somebody needs to nerd out and work for a radio station and figure out what playoff games are potentially in play.
Right. Exactly. Doing a little bit of the math too on some of these playoffs here. So New York Mills would, if they hold on to that 18th spot, would play on Monday in a first round game. Technically, it's not a pigtail because the other teams would just get buys, or maybe you call it a pigtail. I don't know. Either way, they would play. They would go on the road and would play the team that is 15th in the section, which would be 17, 16, 15, Underwood. They would likely have to go to Underwood.
Sure. Okay.
So would kind of be how that would.
Good. 1 through 21 in that section now. So to have to go to Underwood, that seems like a reasonable trip, because you could have to travel much further.
You could have to go to Benson or something.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Or you could have to go to Norman County East, Ulen Itterdal.
Correct.
It's a lot. It's a lot of miles.
You know what? New York Mills seems to play the Titans in every sport once a year anyway. And just because they are section games, I suppose you got to do it. But I feel like that trip to the Titans is not an uncommon trip for New York Mills.
Right, exactly. By the way, for Wadena-Deer Creek, again, sitting 5th in Section 6 AA, they would play on Wednesday, the 22nd, and they would have to take on the 12th ranked team in Section 8 AA. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I got to do my counting right, Corey. Got to let me do it right. They would host Warroad on that one. So,
again, thank God that's a host.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness that's a host. And then if they win, they would go to the high seed, which again, if everything would go to chalk, would theoretically be a matchup against the 4th ranked team in the section, which would be Perham, which again, out of all the places you could go, Perham is just, they're literally the next section team down the road.
If you're going to have to travel, this is ideal travel.
That's ideal travel. Exactly. So, and then it gets to the neutral site games after that, in which case those are to be announced, because in a section as big as 8 AA, you kind of just wait for the map to shrink a little bit before you figure out where you go.
Yep.
All right. By the way, you can listen to Wadena-Deer Creek versus New York Mills on 101.7 FM, AM920 KWAD, and online at wadenaradio.com/KWAD. All right, Corey, one more thing to mention before we get out of here. Today is conference meet day. for a lot of teams across central Minnesota. Obviously, the Park Region Conference meet is today at Balmoral Golf Course in Battle Lake. They're going to be racing, obviously, on the girls' side of things. Wadena-Deer Creek, UNC are kind of the teams to keep an eye out for the boys. You have your Wadena-Deer Creeks, you have your OTCs, you have your Bertha Hewitts. We'll see kind of who shakes out in that one. There's also Heart of Lakes. There's the CLC. There's a little, there's a bunch of stuff that's going on with some of these cross-country conference meets. And we were going to have Zeke on today to preview it, but we decided that probably better to have him talk about the results because he's going to be doing a deep dive tonight and get some results up on Sports Cow on Facebook.
Deep dive.
Sports Cow on Facebook. Moo. And WDCradio.com.
WDCradio.com. You sound like I had a stutter on that one.
I was going to say, you sound like a 2-year-old that's like trying to tattle on their brother, but like they can't get it out fast. I was like, mom, I saw my brother. He was being mean to me. Like kind of one of those things. Anyway, and scene. So our guy Zeke will have a bunch of stuff coming up. We'll have him on the show tomorrow to break things down, and he'll have the full write-ups online, WDCradio.com, Superstation K106 mobile app, and following Sports Cow on Facebook. I think that's it. We got a fully loaded local show today. We'll break more stuff down tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Although, Corey, before we get out of here, we probably should talk about the FunZone Arcade and Pizza Ranch in Wadena, huh?
Oh yeah, let's do that. Big news, double point Wednesdays are back in the FunZone Arcade through the end of the year, through December 31st. Every Wednesday, FunZone Rewards members can earn double points on all online and in-store FunZone purchases up to $100. Purchases must be added to that FunZone card registered to your FunZone Rewards account. And if you're not a FunZone Rewards member, scan the code. You see it on the screen as you watch the Morning Sports Desk on YouTube. Go to the FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Scan the code while you're there. Go to their Facebook page and scan it that way. But double points every Wednesday through the end of the year at Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena.
Morning Sports Desk. See you later.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.